now I am recording.
Excellent.
But now I'm not that special because I was only here like maybe 3 minutes before everyone else.
And I think it's
Hi,
going to be
children.
Hello.
Sorry, I was working on a voicemail for work.
Oh, fun.
Because every month, apparently, they feel the need to redo the voicemail as if it's not a fuckload of work for me.
Yeah.
It's not
I've helped
I was
really
gonna say,
a fuckload of work for me, but it's like...
I think both Megan and I have recorded voicemails for your work.
Yeah, like 5 times because we keep hiring new people. But then Audacity was like, hey, the way that you exported this was wrong. So I wanted to make sure I exported it right before, because it updated.
Fair enough.
I need to go into my email and download my...
I'm really torn in between the Today in Histories.
Okay.
Today in history?
I don't know, like they're both not bangers, but they're both like kind of funny for different reasons. I also don't have like a snappy title.
It's okay.
A snappy title.
I don't have a snappy title, but that's fine.
That's okay. Do we have an order? My story is like literally the shortest thing on God's earth.
My story is decently long, so I can go first if you'd like.
All right.
I could go in the middle because mine is probably
the spookiest.
in the middle of both of yours. No, it's not the spookiest.
Okay.
It might be the saddest.
Fair enough.
Well, yeah.
That's on par for you.
Okay, rude.
Look, I'm not saying that you have a reputation for doing depressing stories. I'm just saying that you have a reputation for doing depressing stories.
I don't need this from
You don't
everyone.
need to be dragged like this?
I don't need to be dragged
have a special
like
guest.
this. I went to Five Below today and bought 12 gingerbread house kits.
Yes, dude.
And as I struggled to the front of the store, the fine lad who was like, it's self-checkout, but there's one like kid who's manning the checkout in case people need help.
Yeah.
And he could have been anywhere from 14 to 27. I couldn't tell.
And no one ever
That
will.
odd age.
I truly... Well, it was a Tuesday, so I was like, I don't know, maybe you're not in school anymore. It's a possibility. But it's also New Hampshire, so who can say what the laws are?
You can. You can say.
Yeah. And so I have all my gingerbread houses, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and our brains are giving each other the eye emoji.
And he looks at me.
And
I look at him.
And I look at him. And then he looked at my shoes, and I have my Halloween Toms on because Halloween's not
Halloween
over.
is a feeling in your heart.
Yeah, it's a feeling in my heart. And he's just like, not ready to give up on Halloween yet, are you? And I was like, well, I can only wear them 2.5 months out of the year, and the half month ain't up, is it? And he's like, fair enough. He's like, why so many gingerbread houses? And I was like... Because I work at a library and it's for a program. He's like, how do you feel about banned books? And I was like, this is a bigger conversation
I just want to buy my gingerbread
into.
houses and bounce, son.
I just want my gingerbread houses and that's it.
I was like, why am I getting dragged in a Five Below right now?
Yeah, I mean, that
crazy.
conversation for me would have ended with, ready to give up Halloween, are you? I would have been like, I will show everyone your skeleton. Right now.
I will show everyone.
I need a new Halloween decoration. Are your insides available?
Are your insides available? I was having...
Are your insides Five Below?
So we had a group come in to cook dinner tonight, and one of the women was talking to me.
Someone cooked here.
Someone cooked here. One of the women was talking to me about the last time their group came in and cooked dinner for us. She was like, there wasn't enough dinner because people are assholes and will just like heap food on their plate, even though not everyone has eaten yet. And I was like, I looked her in the face, and I just said,
in the face.
I'll stab somebody for you if you want. And one of the other women that was with her tonight was just like, oh, that was aggressive. And I was like, I'm just at the end of my rope here.
I'm an aggressive person. What do you want?
I was like, I'm fully ready to just stab the next person.
All I can think of is that fucking thing with Goofy. I'll do it again.
Yup.
Murder.
I'll do it again.
Murder.
I also want to say that, like, there's one person in my building that's, like, really into boxing, but he's, like, white boy skinny. And, like, he talks about himself like he's the next Muhammad Ali. And it's like, bro, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're not as cool as you think you are.
I feel like boxing is one of those sports that is just like, it's taken up by real athletes and white boys who think they can fight. And there's no in between.
Yeah, for sure. And the craziest thing about that is that Jake and Logan Paul are both, like, tiptoeing on that line.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake Paul, I would say, is probably a real athlete. Logan Paul is a white boy who thinks he can fight.
Yeah, but, like, Logan Paul is a white boy who thinks he can fight, so he went into the WWE, and that makes fucking sense to me.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying.
I still don't respect him, but...
No, I know. Like, I mean, I get it. I also... I mean, to say anything about respect in the Paul brothers is kind of...
It's,
it just doesn't make sense.
Or not hypocritical. It's, an oxymoron.
Nonsensical.
Respecting the Logan brothers is an oxymoron.
It's shenanigans.
Indubitably.
We've been shenaniganized.
Indubitably. I've picked... I'm gonna do 2 today in histories.
Okay,
Holy
fuck
shit.
it, why not?
It's a podcast first.
I'm gonna do 2.
Two.
Well, I don't want to pick.
Today in history, Meghan couldn't pick between 2, so...
Yeah, and I also don't have a snappy title, because there's just, like, no snappy title.
It's not the first time that's happened, so we're okay there.
That's okay. I mean, they can't all be...
They can't all be bangers.
Yeah.
They can't all be winners here. This is going to be the shortest After Dark that's ever happened. Because Meghan has to go. I'm tired as fuck.
They don't all have to be super long.
No. All I'm saying is it's going to be the shortest After Dark that we've ever had, all right? Chill out.
That's true.
You don't need to be dragged like this.
And I finished my list.
What does this look like, a Five Below?
What is this, a Five Below?
I finished all my Kit Kats, so I can't make awful noises anymore, too.
Ganbate Roomba-san. As I was saying, we do have a special guest, but she's all the way on the other side of the room.
Who's that?
Zeddy. Zeddy decided to come to the basement with me, but she's all the way on the other side of the room. Zeddy.
Is she getting pumped?
About what? Oh, she's fully...
I don't know, like...
asleep. She's like...
She's too EP to get pumped.
If my headphones were off, I'd be able to hear her snoring from here.
Wow, I just read a post that was like, let a man talk about himself uninterrupted for 10 minutes, and he'll be like, wow, I really like you.
Yeah. I mean, it's the truth.
I am dragging all of men today like a Five Below.
Like it's Five Below?
Like it's Five Below.
That's almost as cool as like a G6, except it's not nearly.
Why is no one getting slizzard anymore? That's my question.
Yeah. Or flying high like a G6.
What did it even mean, though?
Yeah.
Getting slizzard?
What did it mean?
Whatever you want it to be.
Well, Meghan, when a man and a woman love each other very much, we should start the podcast. You can count us in whenever you're ready.
Okay. I got that.
We'll
today.
We'll
and
explain
that
what
today.
slizzard is when you're older.
Okay, I'm scared about it. I'm a little scared, and that's okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Today we will be doing two things in What the Fuck History, because I could not choose between the Today in Histories because I think they're both funny. So the first is Today in History. In 1962, after losing the governor's election in California, American politician Richard Nixon gave what he called his last press conference, telling reporters that you won't have Nixon to kick around anymore. He was then elected president 6 years later, so we indeed did have Nixon to kick around once again. The second one I want to do, it just struck me as very funny, and it is also Today in History. In 1940, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge connecting the Olympic Peninsula with Tacoma, Washington, broke up in a wind of about 42 miles per hour, which feels like that is a stiff breeze. I don't know what wind feels like, but it feels like that bridge should have survived like more wind. But that's just my opinion.
Meghan, we have to move on.
Welcome to What the Fuck History, where we discuss the wackiest and weirdest things that make us say, well, what the fuck history. My name is Zachary, and you look a little lost, friend. Come sit down and enjoy the rest of this episode while you get your bearings. There's no need to go anywhere.
My name's Meghan, and I'm a little disappointed that I couldn't find a snappy title for my story this week, but it is a little spooky.
And I'm Matt. Today I learned that all the major pizza places use the same cheese. So Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, and Little Caesars are all using the exact same cheese. And
what is it?
I might have already... No, they just buy it from the exact same supplier. It's like one guy.
Yeah, that's why you should buy local pizza.
Buy local pizza.
Local pizza. Do they get it at the cheese vault?
Yeah.
The cheese
I don't
vault.
know. I don't know. I think the thing that I
sure?
saw did talk about like the guy's name, and I just thought that I wasn't ready to go down that rabbit hole.
You know what? Fair enough. You pulled back at the last minute.
I did.
Well, you're going last tonight, so you have a lot of time to look that up. You're going last tonight, so you should look it up.
I will look it up, actually.
Cheese
vault. So yeah, that was my fun little thing.
Cheese.
Very fun. So many facts today.
I know.
I'm fucking itchy as hell, I'll tell you that right now.
Itchy as
Me too.
Why are you guys itchy? What the fuck? That's weird.
Well, my nose is itchy. I think there's something in the air, and my eyes have been watering a lot, but that's fine, because I stole a lot of cake from work today.
I thought you were going to say you stole a lot of eyes, and I was going to be concerned.
I did that too.
Grant us eyes. That fucking game. Sorry. I spent most of my day today listening to a lore cast about fucking Bloodborne, so now I have Nikolash in the back of my head saying, grant us eyes.
I got a lot of things happening. Give us
Yes.
eyes.
Because that's the whole thing of the game. They're like, eyeballs. That's the way we need to be able to...
Eyeballs.
How are we going to interact with these godly beings? Eyeballs.
Loprino.
Eyeballs.
And he's a billionaire.
Wait, what?
The guy who sells cheese to all of these places.
Well, yeah, no shit. He's the cheese king of the fucking world.
Yeah, he's the cheese king of the world. He sells mozzarella. He controls 85% of the large chain pizza market and owns 100% of Loprino Foods, the world's largest cheese supplier. James Loprino has a net worth of $3.1 billion.
Eat the rich and all of their cheese.
And all of their pizza. I could tell a story about this guy tonight, honestly. But tonight's supposed to be our Halloween episode, so I'm not doing that.
It's the spooky episode. We can't.
Yeah. You're not allowed to tell a story about the cheese man.
All right, listeners, our strikes have been set to 0, but I made a joke in the midweek that Zach gave me a strike for, so I'm starting the episode with 1. We also played a completely fictional game of rock, paper, scissors. It only happened in our mind, and the order for tonight is Zach, followed by Meghan, followed by me, and I was supposed to do that research while other people were talking, but I felt that would be rude, so I did it before we started talking. Hey.
And that's it.
Hey, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
That was a lot of me talking, and I needed a second to catch up. My breath.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm going to
You good,
be
homie?
scratching my back with a back scratcher for like a majority of Zach's story, potentially, so
Oh, excellent.
I'll be popping in and
Wow.
out here and there.
All right.
Hot.
So, tonight, yes, is our Halloween episode. I know we're a little bit late, but as Megan pointed out in the After Dark segment, Halloween shouldn't just be for one fucking night. Like, come on, people. We don't have to give up the Halloween spirit unless we're forced to by Mariah Carey singing All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah, and to that kid in the Five Below, you were very nice today, but you did try to roast my shoes.
Don't roast the shoes.
Don't roast my Halloween shoes.
So, I know, at least Matt and I tonight are going to be talking about all things Lost. And no, not the show. This isn't Purgatory. Don't guess that. But we are talking...
It's Purgatory.
Yeah, it's not Purgatory. This is not Purgatory. This is a podcast.
It's Purgatory. We're in hell.
We're in Purgatory.
We're in
Shit,
the
I
bad
revealed
place.
it.
Sorry.
But we are talking about lost peoples, and I personally think that the lost expeditions in general are dope as fuck. Unfortunate that people go missing, but really cool to think about and be like, wow, that's fucking weird. So tonight, I'm trying to like.
That
be
sentence
excited.
was so fucking strange. It's like, lost people are sad in general, but also, like, what a cool phenomenon.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it's like lost expeditions are like an interesting subject in a very morbid way, but also
Yeah.
I have to like tamp my excitement about lost expeditions with the fact that people are dead. Like,
Yeah, well, potentially. We don't know for sure.
potentially, we don't know.
We don't
Well, I
know.
don't
They're
know.
just
Have
lost.
I ever told you
They're
guys
lost
that,
until
like,
further
technically
notice.
every ship that has ever gone missing is still considered out to sea?
Yeah,
Like,
Okay, I don't think that's right, but
no, until
that
it's
is,
like
no, it is
I mean-
right. Until they find the wreckage, they consider it out to sea.
out to sea. It's weird.
okay, they're wrong.
Listen, Megan,
I mean, it's Schrodinger's boat
Yeah?
at that point.
it is Schrodinger's boat. Oh no, I killed one of Schrodinger's cats.
We are getting off topic, so let me
We
veer us
always
back
are.
on. Tonight we are going to venture back
Truly.
to the late 1700s to
Back
merry old
to
England.
Cali, oh.
Nope, to England, not Cali. Sorry.
Sorry.
And we're going to talk about the explorer George Bass and his final expedition. I'm saying George Bass, but it's spelled B-A-S-S, so it could be George Bass, and I'm just bad. So,
It could be something completely ridiculous, like Bosse.
no, it's an English name. It's either
Look.
Bass or Bass.
Or it's... Yeah, no, it's you're right. If it was French, the vowel might not be pronounced that way.
Bzz.
It'd be like...
Yes, indeed.
Guys, just because it's the Halloween episode doesn't mean we stop shitting on the French.
Exactly. So Bass was born near Lincolnshire in January of 1771, 3 years before the Revolution. Sorry, I don't know why I had to throw that in there, but I did.
It was a fucking Tuesday, innit?
Fucking Tuesday, innit? Anyway, he was born near Lincolnshire, 1771, and he led a rather unremarkable early life. His father, at a young age, his father died at a young age. He went to study medicine in Boston, not Boston, Massachusetts, but Boston, England, because of course there's a Boston, England, like there's a Boston, Massachusetts.
The lame Boston.
The lame Boston.
Lame
The one that
Boston.
doesn't have fucking
lamest
donkeys,
Boston.
bro.
Don't even have a fucking
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Have they even heard of Dunkin'
Did
Donuts?
Boston, England
God.
invent fucking Dunkin' Donuts? Didn't think so. Get fucked. So yeah, he studies medicine in Boston, not Boston, Massachusetts, Boston, England. Now you got me confused.
He went to the
so
ye old Dunkin' Donuts.
ye old Duncan Medical Institute. But yeah, so he studies medicine. When he turns 18, he's accepted in London as a member of the Company of Surgeons, which is basically a big fancy pants group of people trying to further the medical goals and standards at the time. So bully for this guy, I guess.
Great job.
Great job for him. Bully for you, sir. In 1794, at the ripe old age of 23, he joins the Royal Navy as a surgeon. And this is kind of where, well, he starts to explore the world. Because as in the Royal Navy, you kind of go places.
I don't see why that would be the case. Can you explain?
You're on a boat.
Oh, got it. Cool.
You go places. The boat doesn't stay in dock all the time. You don't just sit at the helm and go like you're fucking four.
I see. Okay, so boats are made as methods of transportation. Got it.
And sometimes methods of war.
Oh. You'll have to explain that one to me later.
Big cannon go boom, stay on ship, make other ships sink.
I said later, but he explained it to me now.
I felt it was, in the moment. So, when he joins the Royal Navy, his obsession for exploration kind of kicks in. You see, when Bass joins the Royal Navy, he is assigned to the HMS Reliance, which is stationed in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Boston,
I was
Massachusetts.
going to be like...
Not Boston, Massachusetts.
Other Boston.
No, that would be good. But it's stationed in Sydney, Australia.
More Boston.
More Boston. Always Boston. Oops, all Boston down to the core. And so he's assigned to the HMS Reliance, and he is on this gigantic boat. And he brings along with him his normal personal possessions, but also because, I don't know, he's a fucking 23-year-old surgeon. He's like, can I also bring my 8-foot-long boat called Tom Thumb? And the Navy's like, sure, bruv.
Tom Thumb.
Yeah.
Tom Thumb is the funniest name for a boat I've ever heard.
And I think it's funny because you hear the number 8 feet and you're like, that's a tall ass, that's like a long ass boat. Like 8 feet is a good size.
No, that's a sloop.
That's a sloop. I was going to say, it seems like nothing compared to the 90-foot-long HMS Reliance. So...
Yeah.
No, it's the tiniest of boats.
Tom Thumb is the tiniest of boats, and we love him for it.
Yeah, well, he's thumb-sized.
Thumb-sized, yes. So, excuse me. In October of 1795, Bass and a few other crew members aboard the Reliance climb onto the Tom Thumb and sail out of Port Jackson to Botany Bay, exploring the Georges River. They all end up sailing much further upstream than they had previously thought they were going to, and also further than any previous colonists, and they discover a swath of good land that actually leads to the founding of Bankstown. So, if you've ever been to Bankstown, Australia, you can thank Bass. In the March of 1796, Bass once again goes out in a slightly larger boat named Tom Thumb 2.
Yeah,
Tom Thumb 2!
He gets a little upgrade.
Tom Thumb 2!
Yeah, he upgrades his little bitty boat to a slightly less bitty boat named Tom Thumb 2. And him and his mates travel down the coast of Australia to Lake Erie. I feel like I'm going to mispronounce this because it's just hard, sorry. Iowara? That's right.
Even if it's not, just go with the confidence.
I'm just going with the confidence. So they go down the coast to Lake Iowara, and they end up calling this Thumb Lagoon because apparently they're obsessed with thumb things. Some people have foot fetishes. This guy had a thumb thing.
Yeah, he would love
so
the first
funny.
Spy Kids movie.
Oh my... No! You're right, but...
Guys, if you understood that reference...
You're old like us.
You gotta get out more.
Yeah, you're a fucking nerd.
Yeah, they called it... You're a fucking nerd. They called it Thumb Lagoon. They don't know anything. They're just a bunch of dumb British dude bros in a boat who like thumbs, so
Maybe we're like missing something. Maybe thumb means something different.
I
Maybe
don't
it
think
does.
so. Well, I think they named it They named it Thumb Lagoon because they were sailing there on the Tom Thumb 2, and they
No, but,
called
like,
it Tom Thumb 2 because
what
it
I'm
was
s-
just V2.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is there's a possibility that we are missing some esoteric like meaning behind the word thumb.
That there could be more to the thumb than meets the eye.
Yeah, more to the thumb. It's not about the size of the thumb, it's about the motion of the thumb.
Yeah,
I don't know.
sure.
Sure.
Tom Thumb is a character of English folklore.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It was
Wait,
the
did you not
first.
know that, Megan?
It was the first fairy tale printed in England,
Yeah.
and the reason that he's
Yeah.
called Tom Thumb is because he's no bigger
He's the
than
size
his
of a
father's thumb. So
Yeah.
that seems like a rude. That seems like a real rude reason to call him Tom Thumb, but
I mean, they were the English rude boys back then. What can you say?
not much.
Well, anywho, in 1779, Bass sets out once again on a different boat, not the Tom Thumb or Tom Thumb 2, but rather a just large open whaling boat, which is pretty much as it sounds. It's a boat for catching big old fucking whales.
It was the Dave Shin.
Wait, what?
The Dave
Dave's
Shin.
Shin. Oh, okay. Like, that went over my head until, like, I asked what, and then I fucking got it like a dumbass. So no, but there was no name attached to this boat. It was just a whaling boat that he was on. And the goal this time was to sail to Cape Howe, which is the furthest point of southeastern Australia. I would like to mention that during this whole time, I don't know any surgery he's ever doing. He's just, like, seems to be a boat boy.
No, he's just on boats.
He's just on boats. Like, he signed up for the Royal Navy to be a surgeon, and he's like, what if I just, like, putz around in my boat instead?
What if I just do boats? Are you okay over there, Megan?
Sorry, I muted on my thing, but I realized I wasn't muted for the Discord on my phone. I had to
Sneeze. There you go.
Yep.
Okay, anyway. I'm glad you're okay, Megan.
Yeah, sorry.
It's fine. So he travels along the coast all the way to Port Phillip on the North Shore, which is a huge journey from where he was.
Uh-huh.
And in 1798, he confirms his theory that the Van Diemen's Land, which modern-day Tasmania, and the mainland are separated by a strait. In a sloop named the Norfolk, Bass circumnavigated Tasmania and eventually gets the stretch of sea in between Tasmania and mainland Australia named after him, the Bass Strait. Then some other boring stuff happens to him, like he gets married. To his former captain's sister, no less.
Ew. Ew.
But this isn't a very long-lasting marriage because only 3 months after the marriage happens, the sea once again beckons to Bass, and he leaves his wife ashore to go a-sailing again. Because this boy has an obsession with the ocean.
Because he's a surgeon who loves
surgeon.
to sail.
Yes. So Bass and the Salty Boys, which is what I'm going to be calling them, and you can't stop me.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Bass and the Salty Boys invest £10,000 into a brig called Venus. And he loads up with a bunch of trade goods to bring to Port Jackson, Sydney. However, Port Jackson is already full of so many fucking trade goods. And by the time Bass gets there, the mayor's like, dude, no, we're not going to accept any of this.
It's not as... Venus is not as good as the Tom Thumb.
No, the Tom Thumb is way better.
Yeah, it's probably the magnum opus
Boat
of
names.
ship
Yes,
names.
I agree.
Like, you see, like, boat names all the time when, like, you know, boat storage parking lots?
Yeah, marinas, as they're called.
Are they marinas?
Yes.
It's when the boats are on land.
Oh, a
That's
dry
a marina.
dock?
Oh, dry dock. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, the boat parking lots.
The boat parking
And-
lot. You
Yeah,
the boat parking
lots.
lot.
And it'll be like the friendship or like whale of a good time. And it's all ocean
I think
puns.
the only thing that is better are horse names.
Well, so here's the thing.
Yeah,
There
that's
is
true.
a
Like soup and salad.
there is a show called The Great North that is it feels very much like Bob's Burgers, and it has what's his name? Nick Offerman plays the main guy. His voice is the main character.
Nice.
And it's so funny because there is a whole gag with like a fishing. There's like they live in Alaska, and there's a fishing boat that always drives by in the intro, and it always has a different name attached to them, and it's so fucking funny. Like, one of them is Holland Floats, License to Eel, Base Ventura Fish Detective.
I think we need to get back on track, but I do
It's
love.
so fucking good.
I do
Boat
love
names
this.
are ridiculous. So yeah, Bass goes to try to sell these goods, and he can't sell anything because this port is just overrun with goods as it is. So in February of 1803, Bass and the Venus set sail once again, and this time it is their last.
Bass and the Venus.
The Salty Boys and the
sounds
Venus.
like a band. Yeah.
It is the last voyage of Bass.
The final voyage of Bass and the Salty Boys. Coming to
Exactly.
theaters.
Thumbing to
theaters. Yes.
What a bad pun. What a bad play on words.
So Sydney at the time had a meat shortage. Like, he loaded up all these goods that were like dry goods, and they had too many dry goods, but they didn't have any fucking meat. So the governor of Sydney tells Bass, hey, if you can get us salted pork from Tahiti, we're going to pay you just a stupid amount of money. And Bass says, now hold on, I have a plan. We're going to Tahiti.
Hold on. You hold on just one gosh
Damn it,
darn
Arthur,
minute.
I have a plan.
I have a plan.
So he gets that Dutch Vandalin in him and is like, we're going to go to Tahiti. And on top of this, Bass still has a large portion of these goods he couldn't sell in Australia that I mentioned previously. And at the time, Chile was struggling to keep supplies up, and the Spanish were only allowing Spanish goods and Spanish merchants to do business in Chile, making the illegal goods market there just oh so juicy. Oh so fucking juicy.
So juicy.
And in some of his last letters back home to his wife that he left after 3 months, Bass hints at a venture that he could not name, so his motives and what he's doing there start to get a little sus. Naturally, there is some speculation as to what exactly happened to George Bass and the Venus. William Campbell was the captain of the brig, the Harrington, and he swears that Bass was captured by the Spanish in Chile and sent to work in the silver mines. Harrington was one of those boats that regularly smuggled goods into Chile, so he was like, yeah, I was there, I would know. However, the timelines that Campbell gives don't actually really line up all that well, and overall don't make a lot of sense for when, if, rather, Bass would be there. The adventurer Jorgen Jorgensen, I'm going to cover him another day.
Oh. Excuse me?
His name is Jorgen Jorgensen.
No, I hear it. I'm listening to that name.
Jorgensen claimed in his 1835 autobiography that Bass attempted to force trade in Chile at gunpoint and was subsequently tackled and captured the second he let his guard down. However, Jorgensen was known to embrace the Procopius method of storytelling, and he might have really met Bass, but the story of Bass forcing trade is most likely a farce. Eventually, in 1903, a scholar searches the Spanish archives, and in 2003, another scholar, different one, not the same one, clearly, searches the Peruvian archives, and they are trying to find any mention of Bass, and nothing is ever mentioned Bass and the Venus kind of just disappear when they leave Sydney in 1803, never to be heard or seen from again.
Hey, quick question. How do you know it wasn't the same person? Like, just a second ago, you were like, someone looked into it in 2003. How do you know?
So, if the person looked into it in 2003 since 1903, they'd have to be 100 and probably 30 years old, which is... no.
But they
Well,
could.
listen, we don't know. All right, they could have found a Nazi jewel.
Okay, what I'm saying is...
found the Ark of the Covenant.
What I'm saying
The
is,
Ark of the
with
Covenant.
all the cigarettes, turpentine-based liquor, and lead paint that happened between 1903 and 2003, I don't think this guy would have made it.
All right, fine.
To be fair.
To be fair.
But yes, that's my story of George Bass, the Venus, and the man who was like, I am a surgeon, just kidding, I want to play in my boat.
I wanna play. No, I can't say that.
Yes, you can. Now you have to.
Say it and Zach will edit it if it's too egregious.
I was like, I want to play in Tom Thumb, and I was
that's not bad
like,
at all.
wait.
It's not that bad.
That's like the least offensive thing we've said on this podcast.
I guess. God, I'm just like, I just believe in censorship, Zach, as a librarian.
Oh, jeez.
No, that kid in the Five Below was right about you.
Yeah, he was right. He's saying he's saying nasty stuff about me.
He's like, today I met a librarian that loves banned books.
Yeah. You know, it was actually a really nice interaction.
And but you're just dragging him.
Because you can. But yeah, that's my story. It's not like really spooky scary for a Halloween episode, but it is, hey, missing people.
No, but...
You know.
You know what they say.
It's someone missing.
Missing people miss people.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a play on hurt people, but...
Oh, okay. I was very confused.
It wasn't funny, guys. I'm sorry.
No, it might have been funny. I'm tired. I have the EP.
I have the EP.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna tell my story.
Do it.
There's no fun title.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've established that.
Okay, leave me alone.
One is dragging you. You're giving yourself more shit for it than any of us have.
All right. I'm just gonna jump in.
Okay.
Dive in. Ooh, I'm about to dive in.
All right.
That's as much of that song as I can sing.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say anything else. Like West Virginia itself, lunatic asylums are a dying institution.
Are you saying that West Virginia is a dying institution?
Oh, 1,000%.
Got it. I feel you.
Almost heaven.
Like,
not West Virginia anymore.
Fuck, it's stuck
like,
in my
I'm sorry,
head now.
West Virginia. So tonight, I'm going to talk about one lunatic asylum in particular that has already died and is now being haunted.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And-
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. It is called the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Okay.
So let's be clear that you can't really say lunatic asylum
I was
anymore.
just about to say,
it
audience,
rolls,
we know that it's an outdated term, but...
Yeah.
it rolls off the tongue about as well as like a racial slur at this point. So I will not be referring to it as that. Instead, we will be calling it a quote-unquote state hospital.
Okay.
Well, so like originally it was called, like, that was its official name, like the lunatic asylum was its official name, and then like it got changed to state hospital because that's what they started rebranding as.
Okay.
Not just this one, but ones across the country. I mean, there was
Became
one
like
in Tewksbury. It's like the Tewksbury State Hospital.
It became the preferred
and that was-
nomenclature for... But it was mostly so that they could cover up their crimes.
Yeah. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the crimes.
Okay.
The crimes of the
Kentucky.
Trans-Allegheny State Hospital.
The state hospital. So the building of Trans-Allegheny was authorized in the early 1850s. It was designed in the Gothic and Tudor revival styles, which just means even when it was new, it already looked fucking haunted.
Okay.
When you think about Gothic buildings, you think of like turrets and castles and like brooding gables. Like, it had no chance of ever looking welcoming. Like, they brought people who are already on the verge of mental breakdowns, and they saw that they were going to be living in the fucking Addams Family house, and they're like, Jesus fuck. Anyway, so construction began in late 1850 and was performed by laborers.
Oh, okay.
So,
Guys, we're not laughing
definitely-
at slavery. We're laughing at the fact that people in the prison system use prisoners as slaves, but they pass it off as, like, work.
we're paying them.
This is paid labor. They get 10 cents.
Oh, fucking hell.
They get 10 cents.
Guys, here's the thing. Meghan's telling a story from history, but it still happens in America today. Look it up.
Yeah.
Look it up.
We don't have time to go into the prison industrial complex.
We don't have time to get into the prison industrial complex. So construction was rudely interrupted by the hiccup of the Civil War in 1861.
Oh, that old thing. That old chestnut.
Those
That old
darn
thing.
Southerners.
Those darn Southerners.
Shout out to a
I know,
longtime
they're so
fan of the
rude.
show, Justin. We love you.
Justin.
You're not one of those darn Southerners.
So there was the hiccup of the Civil War, so they had to they had to halt construction. And following its secession from the U.S., the government of Virginia demanded the return of the hospital's unused construction funds for its defense. It was like, we have to defend ourselves from those Northerners, so give us the hospital money. They were like, fuck those sick people. The North is on our doorstep. Before they could take the money, the 7th Ohio Volunteer Infantry, who, judging by the name, seemed a little lost, considering this was Virginia and not Ohio,
Yeah, a little bit far from
seized
home.
the money. They were like a little far from home. They seized the money before the Virginian government could get it. They took it from a local bank, and they put it towards establishing the reorganized government of Virginia, which sided with the North.
Okay.
Which I guess was like pretty embarrassing for the Confederates, am I right?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, mostly the whole war was an embarrassment for them, but like, whatever. Who's counting?
I mean, let's be honest. It
this
wasn't
new
a
government-
shining beacon or a shining example of American patriotism when we were fighting each other.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. So this new government said that the rest of the funds needed to stay allocated for the hospital, and construction resumed in 1862. And in 1863, Virginia unwillingly became a U.S. state, and the hospital was named the West Virginia Hospital for the Insane, which still not a great name.
Nope, it's not.
We're not getting any closer. So the first patients were admitted in 1864, but construction continued until 1881. They're like, don't go in the West Wing, it's just not done yet.
Okay.
It's like a sheer drop to the bottom.
Oh, great.
This is safe. They're like, fuck it, it's 40% complete.
It's
It has no
mostly
bathroom,
good.
but we're almost there. Yeah, we're so close. There's no running water, but, you know, dare to dream. So if you're wondering, yes, there were separate rooms for black people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you all were wondering how they handled segregation.
In an asylum?
And the answer
In
is
a
they
shitty
did.
way?
in a shitty way. The hospital was also intended to be self-sufficient, so it had a farm, a dairy, waterworks, and of course a cemetery, because people will be living and dying here.
Sure. Mostly
sure.
the dying.
For sure.
Mostly
They
the
certainly
dying,
will
which is
not
why we're
enjoy
getting
the
into
living.
it.
No.
They will not. So, the name was changed to the Weston State Hospital in 1913, and even though it had originally been meant for only 250 patients, it quickly began blowing past that number. Like, Usain Bolting it past that number.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in 1880, there were 717 patients.
That is substantial.
Yeah.
Yes. And then in 1938, there was 1,661.
That's insane.
Okay.
In 1949, there was 1,800.
Jeez.
And in the 50s, it topped out at 2,600.
Okay, guys, again, Megan's telling a story from history, but this, well, I mean, it's not as prevalent today, but like, it's, people still get mistreated in this way.
Yes.
They just get stacked on top of each other.
Yes. So, like I said, like, I'm not good at math, but these numbers were way bigger
The math
than
ain't
250.
mathin'.
The math ain't mathin' for
The
sure.
math was not mathing. So, because there were so many more people than what the hospital originally could handle, bed sharing measures were put in place.
Lovely.
It was lovely. So, like, people got shifts of, like, a few hours that they could use the beds in the rooms for, and the rest of the time, I don't know what they were doing. It was also just, like, taking in everyone that didn't necessarily fit the mold of what society thought they should be doing. So, in addition to people who did have, like, serious mental illnesses, they had people like epileptics, asthmatics. They had people with rabies.
Oh, healthy?
Wives who, healthy. I mean, to be fair, those people didn't last
No.
long, but, you know, they were still
People
there.
with rabies very rarely do.
They very rarely do. Then they have wives who were insubordinate to their husbandos. People who had indigestion, so upset tummies, were also cause for institutionalization.
Cool. I was gonna say, I love that my IBS
sorry,
is gonna
Zach.
give me a grippy sock vacation.
What else? Oh, doubting one's ancestry was also, they're like, I don't know, I just don't think I'm English. And they were just like, that's too bad. Get in there. Alcoholics, I guess it's like a rehab center, drug addicts, and people who were labeled educable mental defectives.
Did they also have, and I'm only asking because there's just a chance that the answer to this question is yes, did they have homosexuals? Okay.
Probably. It was.
But it wasn't explicitly stated in your research?
No, it wasn't explicitly stated, but what it's sounding like is people were sent there when other people did not want to deal with them.
Okay, so like not
Got it.
necessarily homosexual people. I just
Not
know that
necessarily,
like in
but
most
like
places that was seen as a mental disorder for a long time.
Yeah.
well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, the hospital, I mean, was at its peak in the 50s.
Yeah.
Which-
So it's gonna have something shitty like that.
It might. It could.
Yeah. So, with all of these people, there was a lack of funds and proper care and sanitation. It led to a huge number of deaths in the asylum.
Yeah.
There aren't official figures to how many people died, but the estimates are in the 5-figure range.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like, milled in and out. So
Yeah,
it makes sense because I
at this point it's literally
also had
just
to
like
reread. I was like, ooh.
I don't know how to say it other than it's just like it's a fucking mill of like viscera and mistreatment.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
No wonder this place is fucking haunted now.
Yeah.
It's so haunted. So treatments that were essentially not treatments were also used here, such as laudanum and thorazine to keep patients catatonic because they were like, we don't know how to deal with them. Insulin shock therapy and just plain shock therapy were also used.
Okay.
And another fun thing, the hospital also became home to the West Virginia Lobotomy Project in the 50s.
Lovely.
Which sounds like a shell company for some guy who is trying to hide his earnings in the Caymans. But they were just like going around giving lobotomies to reduce the number of patients in asylums because of severe overcrowding. America has never been good at dealing with mental illness.
Hey, you could amend that sentence to America has never been good.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes. They're like, hey, your tummy hurts? What about an ice pick? Is that a solution?
Would this
And they're
be
like,
good
no,
for
my
you?
tummy just hurts. Is that good for you? So then, by the 1980s, it was still up and going. The hospital had reduced the population due to changes in the treatment of mental illness, probably due to the deaths and lobotomies. They're like, finally, we've thinned out the crowd. There were also the patient-on-patient murders. Patients who died were often not claimed by their families, and many were buried in the cemetery under just like a number. They didn't have a name for them. And those patients that couldn't be killed or controlled were kept in cages. There were talks about converting the hospital into a prison, but they were like, wow, that's like a lot of work and maybe a little unconstitutional.
Oh, as if this shit they weren't doing wasn't
Maybe.
already shady.
It sounded a little unconstitutional to begin with.
Yeah, they were just like, this is the line, though, the line in the sand that we're not crossing. So ultimately, a new facility was built and the state hospital closed in 1994. So I was solidly born
Hey.
when this place closed. This wasn't because the state was like, hey, this place isn't great and doesn't care about its patients, but because the families of the patients that like did actually care, they took the state to court about it.
Okay.
So the state wasn't just gonna close it; they had to be forced.
It only stepped in when someone complained and it was like, "Hey, this is not okay."
Yeah, someone was like,
Let me rephrase that.
"They're like, I want to see your manager."
Complained is the wrong way to put that. When someone showed up and said, "This is bad," then someone actually finally fucking did something. Okay.
I'm taking you to court. Like, you're going to jail. Another
But
jail.
for what?
But for what?
But for what? I don't know. The deaths? What about the murders? The murders? I don't know. So since then, the building and its grounds have been mostly vacant, except for in 1999 when most of the inside of the building was damaged because several off-duty city, county, and state police officers played paintball in there.
Oh my god.
Tragically, they lost their jobs.
Tragic.
Tragic. Oh yeah.
But for what?
Imagine lose. But for what?
This
You can't play paintball in this abandoned state hospital.
I feel like a lot of this story is what's this? The consequences of my own actions? Like
the consequences of my actions. They were truly the thin blue line, though, you know?
oh my god.
About what you can and can't do. So then in 2004, the building was devoted to military history, but was closed due to fire code violations. Then it was auctioned off and turned into a place that gives tours about the building's history and the paranormal. Because obviously, it's haunted. Like,
As it should be.
so much shit. So some of the ghost sightings that have been reported are like staff who used to work there. People report like seeing the ghosts of like nurses and sometimes doctors like still in the halls. Another one is a child named Lily who spent her whole life in the hospital. And what she'll do is, like, she laughs and, like, throws a ball near her room. So, like, a ball will fucking just come out of nowhere, and you'll hear, like, ha-ha! And then, like, she's gone.
Jeez.
Other ghosts, like, slam doors, there's screaming, and, like, they'll appear as lights and cold spots and, like, orbs. So, like, really standard ghost stuff. And a lot of them do have, they offer these tours at night. So if you're looking to, like, piss yourself and learn about lobotomies, like, this is a place for you.
Sounds fucking fun.
Like, here it is.
Excellent.
We did it. We finally married ghosts and lobotomies together.
Oh my god.
Dang.
Love that.
And that's my
That's
That's your story.
That's
And
my
you're
story.
sticking to it.
Fair
Right.
enough.
I have a thing.
Okay.
I have a
go
thing
on.
to talk about.
You too.
So Zach and I have similar topics because I too am telling a story about a surgeon who loved to play with boats and went missing. I'm lying.
Oh, I was very confused for a second.
So as Zach mentioned, this is our Halloween episode. This is our spooky stuff. But we're recording it in November, so like, shut up. So here is 1585, and there's an island off of North Carolina called Roanoke Island, and in this year, a man by the name of Sir Walter Raleigh decides that he wants to settle on Roanoke Island, and it does not go well.
Ooh, who'da
He's basically
guessed?
like pretty much immediately the colony fails and he goes back to England, and then he becomes a sponsor of another attempt. So essentially he goes
Okay.
back to England and he's like, I'm not going back to the colonies, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get someone else to go. So he does this. He funds a group of 115 people to go, and those 115 people are sent there under the care of a gentleman by the name of John White. John White, the
John
most bog
White.
standard
John
white
White-
man
white
name
man
that
White.
could exist. Sorry, I'm distracted by Megan's Dunkleosaurus. Megan posted something in our D&D chat. It's the Dunkleodius coffee mugs.
What? Okay.
Hang on, I'm
looks
fully
like Dunkin'
ADHDing
Donuts.
right now. It's like an ancient shark.
It's an ancient start, but it looks like it runs on
Yeah,
Dunkin'
but
Donuts.
it's
Oh, God.
Dunkelosteus. I definitely read that super wrong. So anyways, where was I in the story? Okay, so Walter Raleigh sends John White to Roanoke Island, and there, John White and 115 settlers establish the Roanoke colony.
Okay.
So this happens in about 1586. In 1587, John White returns to England so that he can get more supplies. Essentially, the same thing was happening. The people who were trying to settle here were, like, starving. They didn't have enough supplies to make the settlement work. So John White was like, we don't have to abandon the settlement yet, but I will go back to England to procure more supplies. And while he was in England, a war happened. And so
A whole
a
war.
whole war. It was a war between England and Spain. And so while he's back in England, whoever was ruling England at that time, I'm not looking it up. It's probably Queen Victoria, or Elizabeth, because she was ancient. Guys, I know she just died this past year, but or a year ago, but the joke is that she's old. So anyways, he goes back to England. He tries to procure some supplies. He gets caught up in a war. This delays his return to the Roanoke colony by 3 years.
Jeez.
Well, I mean, it happens, all right?
And
happens to the best of us.
when he finally returns to the Roanoke colony in the year 1590, there is zero trace of anyone.
Okay, yeah.
There
that makes
is
sense.
nobody there anymore, but there's no trace of violence. There's no trace of recent fires. There's no clothing. There are no tools. There's no nothing. It is just a structure with structures inside of it.
It's just gone.
So
It's giving abandoned.
it's giving abandoned for sure.
Oh my god.
The thing that made this disconcerting to John White is that he had family in the Roanoke colony. And by family, I mean his whole damn family. His wife, his daughter, and his granddaughter were all living in the Roanoke colony. And his granddaughter had recently been born when he went back to England, so she would have been 3 years old when he was returning. But she wasn't there.
Okay, yeah.
Damn.
Because nobody was there.
Okay. Well, to
Yeah.
be fair, here's the thing.
To be fair.
You
Left for 3
Left
years.
your
He went for
family.
milk.
Yeah.
He went for milk
He
for
went
3
milk
years.
and cigarettes, and 3 years later did actually come back, but
Yeah.
He did come back, but he also left them in the virtual wilderness.
Yes. Not just the virtual wilderness, it was the wilderness.
Yeah, there's no CVS.
Yeah, no.
There's no
There wasn't even a
Walgreens.
fucking Dunkin's.
I don't even... Where would you pick up your prescription? Nowhere.
Nowhere.
And
How are you
he
going
was like,
to get your smallpox
"Why aren't-"
vaccine?
Yeah, how are you going to get your shingles vaccine? I don't know.
So all the jokes about modern medicine aside, he doesn't find anyone. But he also couldn't take any time to investigate because the weather was threatening to destroy his ship. And so he leaves and returns again to England. And when they eventually send people out to look for trace survivors of who might have been there, the only clue that they have is the word Croatoan carved into a tree that's outside of the settlement proper.
okay.
Yes.
So the thought about what happened in the 3 years that John White was gone, they believe that a neighboring Native American tribe that lived on a different island, the Croatoan Island, or Hatteras Island, I think, is also another name for it. They believe that this tribe came and all the colonists in the Roanoke settlement just decided to become a part of these Native American, this Native American tribe.
Okay.
I mean, why would
Because, as I mentioned,
isn't there...
there's had it not been for the fact that John White saw people living in Roanoke before he left, there was no evidence that anyone had lived in Roanoke when he returned.
Yeah.
Isn't there also evidence that, like, people reported that there were Native Americans that had, like, different colored eyes, too?
So, essentially, the reports that then come out of this area for a long time after, without any corroborating, like, evidence to support it, is that the Native Americans in this section of North Carolina live in stone houses, much like Europeans would.
Okay.
Were wearing, like, cloth clothing that Europeans would have known how to make. Like, all of the information, although circumstantial, becomes like, oh, all these settlers moved in with the Native Americans and taught them how to build their houses, and, like, they started to hunt with the Native Americans, they started to wage war like Native Americans and with and alongside the Native Americans. So
yeah, they probably started,
all
like...
the evidence sort of points to that, but as I said, it's all circumstantial, and so without any, like, through line to point to this definitely happened, all that's really known is that this colony of settlers disappeared in 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing that kind of makes sense to me is, like, oh, yeah, no, like...
There was an alien abduction.
Like, no, I was going to say, I feel like it was just one of those things where it's like, fuck it.
Well, like...
We're going to...
The crazy thing is, so... When we were talking about doing Halloween stories, I was like, oh, the Roanoke colony just disappearing kind of makes no sense. But in the grand scheme of things, 3 years is a long time.
It is
especially
a long time.
When you can't get to the CVS for your smallpox vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, like, all joking aside, though, like, when you're
a new colony...
Lifespan... When you're a new colony, like, colonies started and failed in less time.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's like I said, at the start of this story, Walter Raleigh starts the colony in 1585, and by 1586, he's already back in England because the colony failed the first time. So,
yeah.
Like, this...
I mean, Jamestown didn't even last that long, either.
Yeah.
Like... It's starting a settlement from nothing is really, really hard.
Started from the bottom, and now we assimilated into a Native American tribe because they didn't leave us to go to England.
Yeah. So what was probably happening, too, was, like, he left them, they didn't have any supplies, and they were, like, I understand that, like, Carolinian winters are not that bad. Like, they could have still been growing things or whatever. But, like, if you don't know what any of your resources are in the area and you are looking at going into colder months, I mean, like, sometimes they still get snow down there.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing, though, is, like, you're in a whole new area, you don't know the resources. That's huge. If all of a sudden you're like, I know what to grow in England because I know what fucking grows here. You're like, well, I'm kind of SOL, you know?
Yeah. But I had fully gone into, like, this whole story trying to, like, piece together. I was like, oh, because every time I had heard about the Roanoke colony, it was just like, nobody knows what happened. Nobody's sure.
Well, I mean...
And it's just like, okay, but...
They do know what
happened. They were
happened.
left to fend for themselves for 3 years. Like, with known Native American tribes nearby. Like... They either died and the bodies got picked clean by... Because the other thing to think of, too, is even if violence had been done, like, it doesn't mean that buildings got destroyed. It doesn't mean that, like... But if violence had been done, you're not going to see blood on the dirt 3 years later. You're not going to see, like,
Yeah, my man's like coming in being like, so why aren't they still
So I
smoldering?
had fully like learned about Roanoke as like, oh, it just went missing. But in doing the research for this, I guess it's not as spooky as like a haunted asylum, but it's like they kind of just vanished.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is when we were in school, and I didn't really learn this until college, and we started talking about Roanoke. There is like the vague repulsion of the great like narrative, the colonizing narrative of, well, it would be preferable if they disappeared instead of assimilating into a Native American tribe.
That's the other thing, is like, it sounds really shitty, but like,
for some reason
they felt that it would be less of a failure to have colonists die than it would be for them to assimilate.
Right. But that wasn't even like...
Yeah.
So that wasn't even a prevailing theory back then. Like, it wasn't until Jamestown as a tribe, or as a colony rather, started, where they started hearing reports of, like, light-skinned Native Americans, where they started to, like, piece together maybe they had been assimilated into a tribe and then, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, which, like, makes the most sense. I don't know. Like, the help of the Native Americans, besides, like, the few... It's, like, these good Samaritan Native Americans that come by and, like, give the colonists, like, a little bit of a boost. And then, like, the colonists took it over from there, which isn't true. Like, you have, like, up in New England with Plymouth, like, you have Squanto, and he, you know... helps the colonists like learn how to grow corn, and they get them through like a bunch of winters. Like, it wasn't just, you know, oh, thanks for helping us, here's a Thanksgiving meal. It's like, no, that tribe helped them for years, like, get established, because they're like, oh, these poor dumb babies.
Like, you think about too, John White is meant to be taking care of like this tribe. Or I keep calling it a tribe, this colony of people, right?
Yeah.
When he leaves to get more supplies, he probably leaves like a handful of men, but the majority of that colony is probably women, children, and like, you know, so...
Yeah, because he has to sail off. Like, he needs people to, like, pilot
so he
the
needs
fucking
young,
ship.
like... And so the Native Americans probably, like... showed up and saw a bunch of these people, and they had to weigh the option of like, do we let these people die in a winter, or do we help them get through it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it, like, more likely than not, it was a lot of women and children.
Anyways.
And for some reason, women and children can't take that care of themselves when men are around, but you can leave them alone.
But you can leave them alone in a North Carolina winter.
Yeah, you can leave them alone in a brand new colony on the coast of some unknown continent and be like, all right, we'll be back, guys.
Yeah. So I had originally expected this story to be a little bit spookier than it was. But it wasn't really that spooky. And it really is kind of like... Because, again, I thought that the, like, colony had disappeared after a year. Like, somebody had gone over to check up on them, and, like, they were just gone.
No.
Because that's how it had always been described.
Nah, son. John White leaves. He left for so long.
He was gone forever.
Since you've been gone.
Yep.
What a dumb bitch.
What a dumb bitch.
I hope he hears me.
I hope he died.
I hope he hears me. I hope he hears me from beyond the grave. He's like, I'm not a dumb bitch. Like, shut up. Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
I've never even been on a boat. I know you can't abandon people.
So anyways, that's the end of my story.
Yeah.
And with...
the conclusion to all these stories is John White is a dumb bitch.
The conclusion to every story forever.
Every single story is, wow, that one guy... dumb.
Yeah.
Idiot.
So, Zach, if you'd like
Idiot.
to talk about our socials.
I would love to. I just wanted to make sure everyone was good before I started jumping into it. Yeah, you can follow us on our socials. We'd appreciate that. That'd be pretty ding-dang cool of you. You can find us on Instagram if you look at @the_triumvirate_productions. You can find us on Facebook if you look up the Triumvirate Productions, or you can find us on Patreon if you look up www.patreon.com/Triumvirate Productions, where we have all of our extra bonus stuff like After Dark and unedited episodes that go up a day early. And if you want to be able to support us monetarily, or if you can't support us monetarily and just want to follow us on our socials, that would be great. You can also give us a rating and review on Spotify and Apple, which helps kind of push us up the charts and makes us seen a little bit easier. But yeah, if you want to do any of that, we'd appreciate it. We are supported by you listeners, and we appreciate everything you do for us.
If you don't want to do any of that, that's okay too. We still love and respect you. A little less.
Yes.
No, that's a lie. We love you.
Yeah.
We love you even if you can't support us monetarily or otherwise. But, like, if you can't take 5 seconds to rate us on iTunes or whatever, like, come on.
Come on, man.
Come on. Okay. And so with that, Sweetie, I just heard my dog. Sweetie. I thought she was coming over here to say hi. I was going to have her say the final sentence of the podcast, but since she's not up to it, I guess I'll do it.
Okay.
What the fuck, history? Meghan, you can count us out.
I will count us out.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.